Thank you, Edgar. At the outset, would like to thank CII for this invitation. RIS is a think tank within the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. We do research on international trade, investment, and technology-related issues. We have been trying to track down the debate related to access and benefit sharing, but in earlier avatars when issues related to access to biodiversity and Rio debates right from 90s, when Rio came up, right from 89 onwards actually, we have been providing inputs in terms of how the frameworks come up. As you mentioned, this issue of ABS and its adoption by developed countries, I must point out, as Mr. Ravi Kumar mentioned, almost 65 ratifications have already happened, and there is wide enthusiasm across developing countries which are owners of biodiversity or related traditional knowledge. So that sort of enthusiasm is what India encouraged and turned into ratification during India's presidency of this process. That's number one. Number two, these are also the countries where you see a huge economic impetus in terms of activities. So you find upcoming firms applying technology, as was mentioned about biotechnology, but also resource-based technology and product development, whether it is Brazil or India or South Africa. You find these countries, China, where application of technology on natural resource product development is happening. You also find that happening in Mauritius, Madagascar, and many other countries. But unfortunately, the awareness which is required in terms of application of rules and regulations and development of products, that disconnect still exists, which at times you find knowingly or unknowingly some firms are using. So number one, what is required at this level is in terms of creating awareness, not only in India, but also across developing countries. Like for instance, Brazil, which is a very important partner for India, both in India, Brazil, South Africa, IPSA partnership, but also in the BRICS partnership, and even otherwise on many fronts. And we had a major case which sometime back in the BRICS meeting, I heard in Moscow from one of the councillors from Brazil in terms of their effort to develop a better breed of cattle. This case became quite interesting and was discussed. Somehow the germplasm that was accessed was accessed at a point when permission was not there with the Brazilian company, and later I think they approached. So my point here is that though in the right earnestness we evolve legislation, but business would have to be seen as a partner in the process, and that's where the predictability of implementation process comes in. We might be extremely worried about the turmeric case, the other sort of bandwagon of literature where certain countries were branded with biopiracy. We were concerned about it in WTO. We were concerned about it in World Intellectual Property Organizations. We are concerned about it in CBD and, of course, with Nagoya Protocol. So the issue really is, how do you bring in predictability? And how do you bring in mutual trust? So these two processes are extremely important. I would stop here, but would come back on this point later.